Whilst we are still waiting, colleagues here, have you read about the late Duma Nokwe?
I'm sorry, my lord.
Have you read about Duma Nokwe, the late Duma Nokwe?
Yes, my lord.
What have you read about him?
Well, firstly, he was counsel during those unfortunate years, who worked alongside other luminaries to defend the people who were charged under the security legislation. And I think he died in exile, and his remains were returned fairly recently to South Africa.
Yeah.
And he's got chambers named after him in Joburg.
Yeah, that's it, yeah. Mr. Swanze, what do you know about Duma Nokwe?
That he was cancelled and he was in some of the MP or soldiers.
No, but what's important, he was the first black admitted advocate in South Africa. Guys like Pinky Laseme in 1912, for instance, he was the first black attorney to be admitted. And Duma was the first to be admitted in the 60s. But what was said about Duma Nokwe, he was refused chambers, even by a liberal bar like the Johannesburg Bar Association. They couldn't hire chambers because of the Group Areas Act. And he couldn't work as a counsel because they couldn't give him a permit to work as such. But they tolerated him in the sense that Bezos, for instance, and Beranje. Have you heard about Beranje?
No, man.
You must read about Beranje. He was the first, maybe the first liberal council to represent the ANC. The Bezoses and the Charles Casson, they come after him. So this gentleman, Duma, had to use the library, squat in the library. And at 4 o'clock, he had to get out of the library. When we came along, I mean, Peter, Mandela, Tambo, they came after. Peter Mandela came before him as attorneys. And there was a guy called Kutumela, who in my view was also a good advocate, but he also was hounded out of South Africa. But what's said about Duma Nokwe, there was, at the Joburg court there was an iron plaque or statuette in commemoration of him. But us black people, we don't know about these things. We don't even think about it. They removed that thing. Have you seen it? It was in front of the High Court in Joburg.
Not about the removal of his statues. No, I haven't heard about it.
Yeah, if you listen to, yeah, fine. If you listen to some of our guys, the new advocates, the Silks, they will tell you this constitution, I am a ponu. You know, Duma Nokwe, Albi Sex, Oliver Tambo, and there was also an advocate called Zola Squaye, who was a brother of the Squaye who died recently as a judge of the High Court, I mean the Constitutional Court. So this constitution was drafted by those guys in Lusaka. But ignorant guys will tell you, hayi, uMandela usithengisile, bamnika i-constitution laphana eCodesa. They had a constitution which they submitted to the non-aligned movement, which was at the time led by Nehru, who was the Prime Minister of India. And there was also Castro in Cuba. They endorsed that constitution, which the ANC presented at Codesa. It's not like the ANC went to Codesa without a draft constitution. And it was also endorsed by the United Nations after they had declared apartheid a crime against humanity. And that constitution was also endorsed by the Organization of African Unity. So what happened in Codesa, it was an amendment of here and there about that constitution. That's why the preamble of that constitution starts with a recitation of the Freedom Charter. But if you listen to, in my view, people who are ignorant, they will tell you, I say constitution is the constitution is it's ever amapun. That's just an aside. So he played a major role in the drafting of that constitution, of the present constitution. Okay, all up, around.
Thanks for that free lesson in legal history.
When we started, there were two entrances to the courts. One was for whites, like here. They demarcated the court into two. Whites on this side, blacks on that side. Even black practitioners couldn't use the main entrance, which was reserved for whites. And black practitioners were reserved a well, a position in the well, like we are sitting, to sit there alone. They were not allowed to mix with the whites. If you read about the case of State versus Pite, you must have read it.
Yes, ma'am.
1955. He was an article clerk then, and he defied the magistrate who told him, you can't sit on the white side. And they convicted him because then there was no constitution like we have, which is based, the conduct of the attorneys were not governed by a constitution like Section 35, for instance. So when Peter died, this was one of the great things he did, was to bring an application to review and set aside the conviction of Peter. And the other application Bezos brought about was the reinstatement of Nelson Mandela. You know, he was struck off the roll, Mandela, for his political beliefs. Did you know that?
Well, yeah, I suppose after the conviction in court,
Yeah, right.
that followed. Yeah.
Okay. That's a bit of history. Okay, can we start?